Out. Okay. So super grateful to be here. I'm going to say this now because I think I'll get the most of you here and it'll be on the recording too. I think I misspoke last time thinking that Saturday was the 1st, but that Saturday, 2 weeks from now, is the 31st. And we'll practice on the last day of the year together. So if you are free to come join us 2 weeks from now, we'll practice on December 31st and we'll close out the year. We'll also set a few intentions for the year to come together. So that should be a fun time to practice together. And if you're catching this by recording, you know how you find them. If you're here live and are looking for the recordings, they are on YouTube and also on my website, so you can find them in 2 places. And our theme for today, I've called today's class the unseen. The unseen. And we're going to kind of dance into that in a few different ways. We're going to kind of explore what it means to trust in what we can't always tangibly touch or put our fingers on or grasp, but that sometimes part of what our journey entails is to trust that there is something that we can't quite see that's more ephemeral, but that is either that which is moving within us or around us. And that part of what I feel like invites us to trust the unseen is to reside a little bit in the back, in the receiving side. So physically, this class is going to be a way of moving into our back body and to kind of sense a little bit more what we don't always literally physically see. We can't always see what's back there, but we can awaken a little bit more of the sensation of the back body. Sometimes our kind of the energetics of the front body and the back body are described, and that the front body is more about our doing, it's our giving, it's more of the conscious side of what we're aware of in the world, it's what we're outputting into the world, and that our back body is more of the input, it's the receptive side, and it's more about allowing or receiving. It's and it's also that trusting in the unseen, and perhaps even allowing yourself to feel what it feels like to be supported by something, right? To have something kind of have your back. So with that, I think we're going to just kind of dive in. I have 2 poems for today because I love poetry and I love the way that it can dovetail into our yoga. And we'll kind of dedicate this a little bit to that dark side of the moon, right? The that which we can trust and know that it's there even if we can't see it. So the first of these is from John Roedel, and I've read his work in here before. And if you haven't followed John Roedel, I highly recommend it. He's absolutely beautiful writer, and I'll just go ahead and dive in. This isn't how I planned for my life to look like, I whispered under my breath as I walked to my car. Tell me about it, an eavesdropping cloud replied to me from above. I looked up and watched. The cloud billowed between looking like a dove and an open hand. The cloud continued. I used to be a snowfield in Montana. I used to be a dewdrop kiss on a lily. I used to be a puddle in a parking lot. I used to be a river in Mexico. I used to be a glacier. I used to be a waterfall mist in a jungle. I used to be so many things. Doesn't it make you sad? I asked the cloud. It used to, but not anymore, the cloud replied, while wrapping herself around me like a scarf. I don't think either of us were created to stay the same for our entire life. I'm not sure I can let go of my old life, I sighed. Oh, you simply must, said the cloud. The cloud whispered in my ear, because once you release what you used to be and embrace who you are meant to be now, Something amazing will happen, the cloud said. What's that? I asked while looking at my hands that were beginning to billow and shapeshift. You'll start to float. And my feet lifted off the ground. All right. And the magnificent Dana Fald, who writes just precious poetry for yoga, just for now. Just for now, without asking how, let yourself sink into stillness. Just for now, lay the weight you so patiently bear upon your shoulders. Lay down the weight you so patiently bear upon your shoulders. Feel the earth receive you and the infinite expanse of the sky grow even wider. As your awareness reaches up to meet it, just for now, allow a wave of breath to enliven your experience. Breathe out whatever blocks you from the truth. Just for now, be boundless, free. With awakened energy tingling in your hands and feet, drink in the possibility of being who and what you really are. So fully alive, and the world looks different, newly born and vibrant, just for now. All righty. We're going to float a little bit and find some boundless freedom in our own bodies that's built into the flow. And I hope you'll sense and feel that. I'm going to shift onto my mat. It is helpful to have 2 blocks for today's practice. And as some of us have been saying, it's chilly. December, and it is indeed chilly here in my space too. So we'll warm up. Let's find a moment just to warm up in your palms, rubbing your hands together. You can really sense and feel the contact of hand to hand. You can rub them a little bit more vigorously if you'd like. Maybe really find a few deep breaths here, just rising your energy through the breath. And then bringing your hands now full of energy to your face, and a few moments here of just sensing your fingertips, your palms on your forehead, on your cheeks, out to your ears, maybe across your hairline or your scalp. To your shoulders and down your arms. A little bit of that self-havening. And if you're not familiar about that, go to my Facebook page. I've been sharing a lot about that lately. Good. And then allowing your hands to rest for a moment in an open, receptive mudra. You can just let your palms turn upward and turn inward for a moment to your breath, to your intention, and perhaps joining me with intentionality of trusting the unseen. And then with your breath, begin to slow it down and really just deepen into the sensory experience. You might add that slight constriction of the breath, the Ujjayi pranayama, a warming breath. And you might explore adding just a little bit of a count to the breath to give a rhythmic element. So you could have a 4 count in and a 4 count out. And again. This is Samavriti, and it's a equal breathing. Not only does it help balance the autonomic nervous system, but also the mind. And we'll add in here a little bit of movement and breath. Inhale, sweeping arms up. And exhale. And again. One more like that. And with hands on your knees, finding a little bit of a rotation of upper body around your legs. Inhaling forward and exhaling back. Perhaps allowing this to be breath-centered, breath-centric, so that you can feel that rhythmic quality still. And then going in the opposite direction. Inhaling forward. Exhaling back. Coming to center, and with hands on shins or ankles, drawing heart forward and back, a seated cat-cow. Reading movements of your spine here in all different directions. Flexion and extension. We'll find some side body openers and twists. You might keep the hands where they are, or you might bring them to shoulders, opening the elbows, robin's breath here, lifting chin, and exhale, chin tucks, elbows come together in front of your heart. Beautiful. And you might stay as you are, or you might open the arms, flying like wings. Exhale, touching palms, give it a squeeze. Inhale, sweeping open. And exhale. Stunning, releasing your hands, coming back to sitting for a moment, and allow yourself to sense and feel and receive the breath and movement that we've explored thus far. What's already beginning to change? What tightness or constriction might be allowed to dissipate already? And then we'll come right into side bodies, leaning towards one side. Doesn't matter which, we're going to find both sides here. And you can take the opposite arm overhead or leave hand on your hip. You might find a static hold, or you might move with your breath. Both welcome. And then we'll go up and over to the other side. And then back through to center, this time taking ear to shoulder. You can support with your hand. You can reach the opposite fingertips away. And then we'll add in just a little stretch of your eyes, reaching your eyes all the way towards your right shoulder or right elbow or whichever side you're leaning towards, pardon me. Breathing into the opposite side of your neck. And now reaching your eyes in the opposite direction towards the upper ceiling, perhaps. And then head, neck, arms, everything back to center, taking a moment to recalibrate between sides. Those eye stretches and neck stretches, they open a lot. Blood flow to the brainstem, and just allowing yourself to sense and feel for a moment before you go to the opposite side, reaching ear towards opposite shoulder, hand can support, opposite fingertips reaching away. Just feeling yourself in the shape and then maybe adding the eyes, gazing towards shoulder or elbow. And now just your eyes move to the opposite corner. And then slowly back to center. Receive, recalibrate. Beautiful. Okay. From here, we're going to go back to our arms lifting and lowering, just like we started. Inhale up and exhale down. But we're going to add a twist, literally. Inhale, we're going to sweep up and exhale, twisting to one side. Inhale up and twist the other way. And it's a nice open twist to start with here. And you can find your range of motion. And if your eyes want to kind of gaze behind your shoulder, letting that happen. And then the next time you twist, we're going to pause there and invite you to grab hold of that front knee and then just lean towards the opposite side. Arm will come up overhead, shoulder's going to lean down towards that opposite knee if that suits your body, and just finding your way into the side body stretch and the twist all at once. And then we lift on out. Arms can sweep up through center. And then to the opposite side, we're going to grab hold of the knee, long spine, and then leaning down. And you can use that hand on knee for a little traction, pressing knee into hand, breathing into your side body, and make this yours. You might lift your heart up a little bit. You might curl down a little bit. Just see where you find that sweet spot. Send your breath there. Beautiful. And back up through to center. And then from here, you might just kind of walk a little bit on your sits bones, leaning towards your right sit bone and your left. And as if you were to kind of take your body on a little journey here. We're not really going anywhere, but we are inside. And just kind of walking, and then let that walking translate up in a kind of snake-like motion through your spine so that even your shoulders get into it. Kind of a subtle, playful little walk here. Good. And then we're going to lean into the left sits bone. Let your right leg come on up, and you can support your right leg with your hand and just rotating through your right ankle in each direction. Snap, crackle, pop. And you might rotate through your right knee one way and the other. And then with a hand on foot and a hand on your knee, rotating around your hip joint in one direction and the other. It's kind of lubricating and opening up and great for our vestibular system and proprioception. And then from here, invitation to send your right leg out long. And then a few wave-like motions over your right leg. In particular today, as we open up the awareness of your back body, perhaps noticing that as you lean forward, you'll sense the back of your right leg, and you can come out of that, leaning in again. We're going to greet side body as you turn open, and then reaching right shoulder towards right knee, and maybe that left arm comes overhead or not. Right? And you can come in and out for a moment. Good. And then right arm up and around, planting on the ground enough to lift your hips and reach left hand's on the ground, right arm overhead. So a little visit here as we lift. Some people call that stargazer. You can give it your own name. And then back into that forward fold. And we're going to do that 2 more times. Lift up, over, left hand plants, hips lift. And exhale, planting hips, boom, down and around. Up, over, and lift, and down, and around. Good. As we lift up this time, leaning into left hip enough to send right foot behind in a deer shape, and then a gentle twist as you gaze over your left shoulder, and then settling right hip back down and lifting, turning and returning. And one more time. Good. Returning to center. And then as we lift right leg back out of that shape, we're going to cross over. So now in a half Lord of the Fish pose, a half fish. And as you find this shape, right foot crossed over the left thigh, finding a nice long spine, and then leaning into your right hand. We're going to lean back away from the twist, and left hand can come over and just give that right upper chest under your collarbone a little bit of self-applied massage, opening up some of the blood flow in here. And then from there, you might sit back up and take a more static twist. You can take a hold of your right leg, or your elbow might plant there. And then if it feels right, turning your chin, turning your eyes to the corners of their sockets. And returning to breath. Unwind, release. Let's take that all on the other side. So this time lifting through left foot, left leg, turning left foot around the ankle, one direction and the other direction. Gonna feel nice and yummy, hopefully, and your knee and the other way. And your hip, hand and hands over knee and foot here. Nice big wide circles. And then sending leg long and folding forward and lifting up, finding your way in. Greeting the back side of your left leg. Turning body open, we'll come into the side bend here. And it's relatively early in class, so just greeting the edge and backing away. Notice what happens in this unforced practice. We're going to come up and around, planting right hand, lifting hips, lifting your chest. Exhale, settling, folding. Inhale up and around. And exhale. And one more like that. Lovely. Leaning into right hip enough to send the left foot behind you. And then those open twists toward the right and settling back down. Looking behind you, perhaps. And then this time, as we lean into right hip, left foot all the way up and over, preparing here for a half Lord of the Fish, a seated twist. And you can lean into left hand, give yourself lots of space. Right hand can come across and give that left upper chest region and collarbone and clavicle nice self-applied massage. Ah. And then maybe sitting up tall and clasping left leg or maybe elbow, finding a long spine and deepening your twist here. And we'll unwind completely, both legs out in front this time. And we'll make our way onto our backs in just a moment. But first, pause here and just let both knees with feet wide. Feet can be wide, mats width apart. Let both knees fall one direction and then up through center and the other way. Through center, the other way. And you can have your hands behind you, or you might keep just one hand behind you, reaching the opposite arm. Here we are, dear, side to side. And some of you might play a little bit here with no hands and what happens in the balancing of waking up the core as you twist from side to side. And I always seem to walk quite a ways forward on my mat when I do this one. It's kind of fun. All right, coming back through to center. And now we'll come all the way down onto your back. Arriving here, we're going to wake up through the core of the body, also perhaps help us warm up a little bit. Hands behind the head heavy in your hands. And just a very basic lift and lower here. Exhale to lift, inhale to lower. And then we're going to change this up. So lowering down for just a moment, we're going to lift just the balls of the feet up. You might walk your heels just slightly forward. And then as if you were trying to kind of bunch up your mat between your heels and your buttocks, you're going to kind of grab hold of the mat and slide your heels towards you. It's going to wake up through your hamstrings. Yeah. So feeling that action of the backs of your legs lit up in your awareness, we'll do the same motion in the upper body. Exhale to lift, inhale to lower. And then we can stay just as you are, or you might walk your feet slightly closer to each other so that as you lift your upper body, your right knee can curl in towards your chest and then lower. We'll switch it out. Left knee curls in, upper body lifts. Inhale to lower everything down. Exhale, right leg. Exhale, and left leg. And continue with your own pace here. connecting to breath. The heel that's on the earth continues to drag towards your body, lighting up through the back of your leg. One more. And then lowering down just enough to cross right thigh over left. And you can take both feet off the floor. So we're in a bit of an eagle legs here. And on an exhale, lifting, curling everything in. And as we inhale, we can lower upper body down. So it's finding your range of motion here. And then we'll lower upper body, keep legs as they are. And if you'd like, pressing palm over palm into that upper right thigh above your knee. And we're going to press legs into hands, hands into legs. You'll feel this isometric hold in your core. And then as we release that, we'll go into whale tail. So a supine Gomukhasana, going to reach your hands around to opposite ankles here. And you can find a static hold, or you might find some micro movements, breathing into your hips. And we uncross the legs opposite direction now. So left thigh on top of right, hands behind your head, and exhale to lift. Inhale to lower. Finding your range of motion with your legs, with your upper body. And lowering down. Hand over your top thigh here, pressing legs into hands, pressing back firmly. Feel that isometric hold, a little bit of shake in there. And then let it all go, reaching around for opposite ankles. And sending your breath into the pockets of sensation, calling to your awareness. From here, unwinding your legs, maybe taking a hold behind your thighs, a few rocks on your spine. And eventually rocking up into Navasana boat pose. Options here, you can keep your feet on the floor. You can keep your shins parallel to the floor. Hands might stay behind your knees, or you might parallel your arms to your legs. And some of you might want to straighten your legs. For me, that's not so comfortable on my hip flexors. So feel it out in your body and come back to breath. And we're going to roll up and over the shins now, coming forward toward your towards your belly here, but we'll come into a forearm plank. So a moment here to find your way in. Your forearms are down to the mat, and your toes are down and everything else is lifted. So you can sense your back body for a moment here. You can let your gaze be down and the back of your neck be long and your tailbone long. And then lowering your knees and opening your elbows wide to lower your chest down. Maybe you rest in crocodile for a moment, hands stacked, forehead on the backs of your hands, feet wide. You can either stay here or lifting your head up off your hands to free your hands back behind you. And then I'm like a little airplane here. So allow your upper body to lift up. And you might start by keeping the tops of the feet on the mat. And just feeling locust and the strength of your back body. And you could choose to evolve this shape by clasping your hands and maybe lifting legs, feet off the floor. Finding your breath, feeling the whole back body lit up in your awareness. And exhale, softening, receiving, maybe back to that crocodile shape. You might wiggle your hips a little side to side. Maybe sigh something out. And then the invitation is to come back onto your forearms. And this is Sphinx. And if it's activating for your low back, take a moment, lift your hips, lengthen through your low back and tailbone, and then slowly settle back down, drawing your heart forward. And then from here, I'm going to invite you to come into a forearm tabletop for a moment. And then either keeping your forearms parallel or clasping your hands will lift hips into dolphin. Okay, dolphin is like a downward dog, except that you're on your forearms. And you can take your time in this, just move in slowly. You can keep your knees bent. Maybe from that shape, you walk your feet a little closer to your elbows. And as you press into your forearms, we're lifting the crown of the head off the mat. So we're not kind of pressing the head into the mat. In fact, there's nice space there. And if your elbows go wide, it's hard to keep that space. So you can kind of draw elbows in towards each other. It creates just enough room for that lift. One more breath here, again, sensing your whole back body lit up in this shape. And then settling your knees to the mat, hips towards your heels, and a wide-kneed child's pose. And lots of variations in this one. So you might settle into stillness, you might wiggle around in there. You might reach your arms long, or you might bend at your elbows, taking your hands in a prayer shape behind the back of your neck. And then releasing hands, walking yourself up to sitting on your heels, and a moment in toes pose. Lovely little opener for the underbelly of the feet, the soles of your feet. And you can find your way into the degree that's right for you. You might lean forward, or you might be fully resting your weight onto your heels. And you could also play with opening up through the soles of your palms, through the palms of your hands, and turning your fingers back. You can kind of let your hands rest on the earth and then slowly lift a little bit your heels of your palms up off the earth, just waking up through your forearms and the hands. And again, you can come back, rest your weight over your toes. Lovely. And we're going to untuck the toes. sitting onto the heels, and a moment of lifting one knee and the other. So for those of you that are familiar with my classes, you know that I like to get into the joints of the legs. I really like to get into ankles and knees and hips. I think it's really good for us. And if you're new and this is unfamiliar or you have injuries in these areas, go really gently, okay? Over time, it can really help to open up these areas. But if there's a lot of constriction, go gentle. Okay, you might lift both knees off the earth. We're going to roll right over the knees, tucking toes under in a little tight squat. Nice tight ball, and you can kind of bounce your ball for a moment, bounce over your hips. Notice the resonating vibration in your low back. And then lowering knees, widening the feet and back into a wider squat. I'll face you for a moment here. So nice wider squat here. And you can lower one knee and the other, turning your body from side to side. And again, getting to a chance to greet your knees and ankles and hips in this shape. And if that is a non-accessible shape, you can do this higher up. All right, so you're just kind of working your way into those joints at a more accessible range. And invitation to take right knee to the earth, keeping left knee lifted. Now it's a half squat, okay? Again, if you need to be up here, or you can sit your hips on a block as a variation of this. So finding your way into a variation of a half squat. And in half squat, you can explore your spinal movements once again. You can kind of curl in and lift up and flexion and extension, or maybe a little side to side. And I'll invite you to curl towards your left knee and then open plant right hand. Here we are, stargazer. Exhale, curl it in. Inhale. One more time. Nice and close to the earth for our start here. And then back into center, and we're just going to switch it out. Leaning into left hip, right knee to lift, half squat. Get to know it for a moment through your spinal movements. And again, if you're up here, finding those spinal movements in whichever variation you're taking. Good. And then curling towards the right. Exhale. And inhale, open. Okay, let's exhale to curl. Inhale. And exhale. Let this be kind of fun. It doesn't have to be exact. You know, your hand doesn't have to land at the same place every time. Good. And we're coming back through. This time we're going to turn into a tabletop. That's where we'll meet. And as we arrive in tabletop, a few moments here for your very own flow guided by your body, just allowing yourself to find that pendicular movement, how your body wants to continue to wake up in that more intuitive sense. What needs to stretch and breathe and be known. Good. And you can stay with your own free form movement, or if you're ready to join me with some guided movement, I'm going to invite you to take your right leg back behind you, and we'll keep the knee bent for today. Inhaling here, and exhale towards your right shoulder. Inhale here, and exhale under, rounding your spine. Inhale here, right leg, right shoulder. Inhale here. and exhale under your body. Listen carefully. We're going to inhale back to this shape, and we're going to keep the back in our cow shape. So if this is cat, we're going to keep in cow. So we're going to allow that little arch in the lumbar spine to remain as you curl your right knee under. So you're not going to gaze towards your knee this time. Just the leg moves and the spine is kind of retaining the shape. And just notice the engagement around your hips and low back and your abdominals to support that. One more time. Inhale. We're going to send right leg back and a few heel rocks here, waking up once again through the calf muscle in the back of your right leg. And then sending left knee to the side, and you can rotate your right wrist if you like as we lift, lift, lift up and over into gate. Just finding your breath, greeting left side body. And then up and around and down, left hand plants, pausing here. So we're in a kind of knee down side plank and maybe lifting right foot off the ground. So we're balancing in this shape. You can stay here or exhale, knee and elbow to touch. Inhale to open. Exhale. Inhale. Inhale, we open, listen carefully. Exhale, let's reach behind. Now, you might stay here, or some of you might grasp your foot or your ankle. Neither is better nor worse. Just feeling your way into this knee down Chapasana. This is a sugar cane pose or a candy cane, right? A little Christmas pose. All right, we're going to release, not there long, up and around, back through to the table. And for a moment, just let that go. Maybe some traditional cat-cow, or you wiggle it out. Good. And we'll find this on the opposite side, left leg to lift and under. And sorry, left leg to lift, left knee to left shoulder. Good, and we'll find this under your body. So for these first few, go ahead and round your spine with the movement. Good. All right, take it under one more time. Why not? We're going to lift here and pause. Really feel that cow shape in the spine. And then keeping your spine as it is, keeping the heart lifted, just drawing your knee underneath. And one more like that. Beautiful. Sending your leg long and some heel rocks. Greeting the back of your left leg. And then right shin to the side to support your transition, maybe rotating left wrist up and around into gate. And just enjoying, luxuriating in the shape. It feels so good. Up and around. Right hand to plant, left arm reaching long. You can stay right here. It's a beautiful shape. Maybe you lift left foot off the earth, finding a little balance. Again, a good place to stay. Or perhaps knee to elbow and expand and contract. And now we trust in the unseen, sending your foot back, your arm back, feeling your way in. Maybe you're reaching, stretching, maybe you clasp, and a half bow here, sugar cane. letting that go, releasing back to tabletop. Wiggle it out, wag your tail. And we'll make our way to our first downward facing dog, curling toes under, lifting your hips, and make it yours. Okay? You might choose stillness. You might send your hips from side to side or your heels from side to side. You might walk it out with your feet. And returning to breath. When you feel ready, gazing forward, we're going to take a lovely little walk to the front of the mat. Arriving there, savoring this moment. And as we come into forward fold, sensing the back body right here, the backs of your legs, your hips, your low back. And we'll find a halfway lift, a beautiful way to light up that back chain of the awareness and the muscles, and then folding back in. And we'll do that 2 more times. Feeling that posterior chain activation as you halfway lift and exhale in. And again, halfway lift and exhale. And then your choice, you can bend knees nice and deep and roll your way to standing, or you can find a long spine and transition up that way. Once we arrive at standing, taking a moment in samastitihi, palm to palm in front of your heart, often referred to here as a prayer for equal standing. Sama, that's samavriti, the same breath, equal standing. Samastitihi. If you'd like, returning to your chosen intention, and I'll offer up again, trusting in the unseen, that which is here to support you, that which has your back. Slowly releasing your hands down. Inhale, invitation to sweep your arms up overhead. And we'll take it into a side body. Just again, your own intuitive version, lots of variations of this, just one time each side. And as we return to center, maybe interlacing your hands behind your back, lifting your heart, squeezing your shoulder blades. And on an exhale, forward fold once again. This time with your hands clasped, take a moment if you'd like to roll your shoulders out. You can explore how it feels to widen your palms or maybe press your palms closer together. And then slowly releasing hands by way of your sacrum to the earth, finding a halfway lift. And exhale, planting your hands, stepping back, rolling through plank, and then your way to the earth. You might lower knees first, or you might slowly lower yourself down in one long plank. No better nor worse. From here, some rolling cobras. Feeling once again the back body wake up. You get to choose the range of motion, how much weight in your palms, how much lift of your heart. And after about 3 or so of those, moving your way to downward dog, perhaps through table or pressing straight up and back. And back to breath. from downward facing dog, gazing forward, and you might walk forward. Some of you might choose to pounce forward. The pouncing is so interesting because there's a deep trust. You're leading with your sacrum into the air, right? And then planting your feet. So there is this way in which the back body, the unseen, gets to take the lead. Inhale, finding a halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Lengthening to stand. Finding a side bend to one side, your version, and the other side. And then this time, practicing your arms, lifting your heart, finding your range here, engaging through the abdominals, feeling the strength of your back body. Inhale to lift. And exhale, forward fold. Halfway. And exhale, hands plant. We're going to meet at the earth once again, however you'd like to get there. You might roll forward, lower knees, lower chest. Once you arrive on the earth, you might repeat the cobra that we did, or the invitation is to slide your hands a little further back so they're down closer to the sides of your lower ribs. And then from here, if you lift up, just noticing how it feels to hug your elbows in, to draw your heart forward, to squeeze your shoulder blades, press down through the tops of the feet, and maybe you lift hips off the floor, coming into upward facing dog from the earth. And inhale here, and exhale, rolling over your toes, pressing back, downward facing dog. And an invitation to lower your knees once again. So we took a visit to dolphin earlier, and there's an invitation here to repeat dolphin. And because I know that some of you have been taking with me for many, many years, pre-pandemic, I've practiced with you in person. Some of you like to go upside down. And some of you that I don't know might like that in your practice. I'm going to give that as a playful option here. Don't have to do it, right? You're going to know your body. And you probably don't want to do this if there's like a stairwell right at the end of your mat, right? Like I like a wall there. So feel it out for yourself. I also like using a block for this so that it keeps my hands, elbows in place. It keeps my hands from sliding together, which then means the elbows slide out. So options are you're in child's pose, going, I'm going to skip this, or you want dolphin again, great, or you want Pincha Mayurasana, which is forearm stand. If you want to just watch it for a moment, here's what that looks like. And if you're coming along for the ride, you're on your mat doing this already. And so we come into dolphin, hands like L shapes with the thumbs and the fingers around the block. The elbows can come in a little closer and then boom, the mat catches them as they slide away. You can stay here. You might walk your feet closer. You might gaze down to the space between your forearms. You might lift one leg. You might stay right there. Or you might find a little hop. You might find that you stay, or you might lift both legs. All right. Whatever you're choosing, come back to breath. And if you're doing just the one leg, right, switching sides so that you even yourself out, and maybe again, you find a hop from the other side. It's a lot to talk through and do at the same time. You've got a feeling for it. You've chosen your version of what we're doing during this little playtime of class. Whenever you feel complete with it, I'll invite you to meet me sitting on to your heels, or if that's not uncomfortable, or that's not comfortable, sit on a block and come back and let your breath recover. One of the things that I've learned in my studies of the applied polyvagal theory in yoga is that part of what we're doing is we're building nervous system flexibility and we're building greater resilience, is we're finding these short bursts of the sympathetic nervous system. Ooh, I feel it, right? And then we go into recovery mode. And it's building your own capacity to handle short bursts of challenge, the chosen challenge on your yoga mat, the inevitable challenges of life. We greet challenge, we feel the intensity of it, and we know how to return to recovery. Huge skill. You can take more time in recovery phase if you would like. Otherwise, I'm going to invite you to make your way through a downward facing dog and then eventually back to the front of your mat. And if you want to take a little savoring walk there, or if you want to hop there, whatever serves you. Once you arrive at the front of the mat, invitation to take your feet nice and wide out to the edges of your mat, a little bend in your knees, and we'll pause for a moment up in standing. So our wide-legged stance, nice and wide, is for a wide-legged Utkatasana, okay? So in this shape, in our Utkatasana, our awkward seated or lightning bolt pose, Ut means intense, we're gonna sit, hips back, okay? And in this wide-legged shape, for a moment, take your arms back as well, if you'd like. And then from here, send your tail feathers back, and send the sits bones back. You'll feel a little bit more activation in that lumbar area of your spine and hopefully the muscles right around there. And then begin to lengthen out through your knees. They won't completely lengthen. You'll still have a little micro bend there. So you can feel that leaning back. Now you might also lean into your heels enough that your toes lift up off the mat. So you're leaning back into your heels, your toes are lifted, you're kind of lengthening through your legs, but still keeping that little bend. And you're probably sensing some sensation in your low back. Great. From here, we're going to lift the arms. Now see if you can still keep that same shape in the lower body. From here, we're going to bend the elbows and draw the chest forward. And if you want to find that again, lengthen the arms forward. Inhale, exhale. Reach the heart forward, reach your tail feathers back, slightly lengthen through the legs. Whoa. Okay, press into your feet all the way up to standing. And it should feel kind of warm back here. Have any of you warmed up yet? I hope so. Good. And then from here, inhale just to sweep your arms up. Exhale, we're going to take this into a forward fold, a halfway lift, planting your hands, stepping back, and your way to downward dog. You might lower down, come through a vinyasa, maybe find a upward facing dog, maybe from the floor up like we've done, and then we'll meet downward facing dog. In downward facing dog, inhale to lift through right leg and exhale forward into a low lunge. Now your two blocks might come in handy here. You might place them under your hands and then lifting and lowering out of your lunge. Greeting your hip flexor on the left side and hamstring on the right. You might even play with lowering the left knee down and finding a little twist towards the right. Some of you might bend through left knee, reaching around with your right hand. Knowing all of these are options, exhale, we release, And we're going to plant the left heel down. So it's like a warrior two legs. Now listen carefully. We're still in a lunge towards the earth. We're going to walk the hands off the mat towards the left. So we've got a warrior two legs, and we've got this long kind of downward dog shape in the upper body. Sometimes I've heard this shape referred to as ostrich. Okay, let your head hang heavy. And even here, can you find that same action like we found in that wide-legged Utkatasana of sending your sits bones back? Your spine is long. Let something go. And then walking your hands back towards your right foot. And you might use your block under your right hand here. We're going to come into a Trikonasana from the ground up, lifting your left arm up and around, and maybe lengthening through your right leg. You can keep that micro bend still. Just noticing how your body feels in this shape right now. Maybe a little bit of that feeling like we're getting a little lighter, like the cloud shape-shifting. And then softening your gaze, softening through your right knee, enough to inhale to warrior two. Okay. And in this familiar shape, a few breaths, finding samavriti, equal breathing. Beautiful. Inhale to reach away. And exhale, extended side angle. Can allow the forearm on the thigh, left arm up overhead, reaching long. You might even take that right hand down to the block since we have it there. No better, no worse. Finding your edge and sensation, the place where you can still breathe. There's enough to work with. And then lifting up for a moment, and you might want to watch this transition. I'm going to take my right foot in just a little bit, and I'm going to use my block for this. We're going to transition from here back down into a standing half moon. So as I lean towards that right leg and I have my hand on the block, my left leg is going to float. Your left leg can float off of the floor, right? A little cloud-like here, and you can still keep a little micro bend in your right knee. Your gaze might be down towards the earth or to the side or lifted. Right. And we did this on our knee before. You remember that? You can always do this on your knee again. We might also play with Chapasana here, reaching back, clasping, left foot, left ankle. And eventually releasing, reaching into the unknown, the unseen with those left toes as you step all the way back. Ooh, warrior two. And then spinning down. Let's find those blocks again. This time, lifting the left heel and stepping the left foot closer quite a bit. We're coming into pyramid. So a shorter stance, left toes angled to the corner of your mat. You can start with a nice long spine here, and then exhale, finding your forward fold over your right leg. Once again, a beautiful way to wake up the sensations in your back body. Noticing the back of your right leg. And you can find that halfway lift, wake up awareness of your spine, and exhale to fold in. and then halfway lift. So our transition to the front of the mat is fun and funky and optional. The optional moment here is to step your right foot back enough to extend that left leg up to the sky again, okay? Now we're in a supported halfway one-legged lift, okay? You can stay right here. You might bend both knees, left knee behind right, in a little jiva squat, and inhale to lengthen. And you can repeat that, or you might remove the blocks, right? And you might place hands on the earth so that the next time perhaps knee comes to knee, you then inhale and let right foot also lift up, right? And that's where that wall behind you can come in handy sometimes. So you can play one more time if you'd like. If I've got handstand levers in the space, you can L hop or lift all the way up. Eventually, 2 feet on the earth at the front of your mat. Hello, we've arrived. And up to standing. Before we go into side 2, one last little moment here. Standing, right foot's your ground, left foot either kickstand, below, or above your knee, finding your way into tree. And this tree has an option, and I'll show it from facing away, to perhaps take your hands behind you into the unseen. You might clasp them here. You might clasp opposite elbows. Some of you might take reverse prayer. We'll offer this up as the prayer to the unseen, the prayer for support in the needed places, a deep trust. And then slowly unwinding, maybe rotating your wrists, and 2 feet on the earth. Samastitihi. So gather what you need as we go into side 2. Wide feet, bending the knees, arms back. Weight in your heels, lifting your toes, beginning to lengthen through your legs, keeping just that micro bend. Inhale, sweeping arms. Exhale, bending the elbows, chest forward. Inhale to stand. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half. Exhale, planting hands your way to downward facing dog, and you might just step back and stay there. From downward facing dog, inhale, left leg lifts and steps forward between your hands, and a few breaths here, with or without your blocks. Allowing yourself just to come in and out of the lunge. Right knee can be lifted or on the earth. And if you're wanting to find that little quad stretch in preparation for Shavasana, you can find that here. And releasing. Lifting right knee, planting right heel, and walking the feet off to the right side of the mat. So we're in warrior 2 legs, sending your hips back, your tail feathers back. We're in downward facing dog in the upper body, head heavy. Releasing through your neck, your jaw, your tongue, your voice. And then walking your hands closer, we come into Trikonasana from the ground up. Your block is there to support you as you lift and lengthen, finding your place for gaze. And then slowly from here, rebending into left knee enough to lift through upper body. Warrior two. Inhale to reach away. And exhale, extended side angle. Your version. Maybe right arm up overhead, reaching long through the right side body. Maybe the left hand lowers to that block that's there. And then slowly lifting back up, knowing that we've got a fancy transition. I like to walk my left foot a little closer, gives a little more room also. And then as the left hand comes to the block, you can send your weight forward and right foot may come off the earth, lifting up off of the earth, right? We float just a little bit right here. And it's often helpful for balance to gaze down. If you feel like you've got your balance, you might gaze to the side or up. And some of you might decide to take hold of your foot or ankle, sugarcane, Chapasana. Releasing, stepping back into the unknown. Trust the floor is there. It's got you. Inhale and exhale to the earth for pyramid as we step the feet a little closer to each other and finding the stable shape here, the pyramid, the grounding force as you lower and breathe into the back of your left leg. And you find that equal breathing right here. And you might choose to stay here. Some of you might choose this little challenge or big challenge of finding that halfway lift, lifting the right foot off the earth, finding the Jiva squat, knee behind knee, curl everything in and lift again. And some of you might play a little bit with L hops or handstand hops. Exploring, knowing that there's no right or wrong. This is playtime. And eventually we meet 2 feet on the earth, either rounding up to standing or coming up with a long spine. And our final standing shape, tree pose. Left leg is the base. Right leg can kickstand. Come below or above your knee. And maybe once again, you find reverse prayer or your variation, hands behind your back. And then slowly, slowly unwinding, settling 2 feet on the earth. Samastiti. One more flow to the earth. Inhale to sweep your arms, to gaze up. Exhale to fold. Inhale halfway. This time, listen carefully as you plant hands, step back, and make your way all the way down to the earth. From this shape, resting on your belly, once again, maybe a pause in crocodile, forehead to hands. And we'll put it all together with bow pose. Reaching hands back, bending both knees this time, maybe clasping feet or ankles, and then kicking ankles, feet into hands, resisting with the arms, letting the upper body be kind of supported and lifted through the strength of your back body, opening your heart. And exhale. We're going to press right back into wide-kneed child's pose. And then slowly walking your hands towards your knees to lift through your upper body, shifting your hips to the side, maybe your legs forward. And Paschimottanasana, seated forward fold. You can really move a little bit of the flesh to the side to feel the sits bones rooting into the mat. Inhale, finding a nice long spine. Keeping that as you walk yourself forward. And it's up to you. You might stay here, reaching sits bones slightly back, the tailbone slightly back, long spine, or you might begin to round forward, finding your way into this forward fold. Perhaps closing your eyes in the shape, feeling your way in from the inside out. And then lifting up here and rolling all the way back down onto your back. Once you arrive on your back, drawing both knees in, hugging arms around your shins, maybe for a moment tucking your knees in towards your nose towards your knees, hugging everything into a tight ball, Bija seed pose. Return to your intention in your mind. And as you exhale, I invite you to exhale into the trust as you send everything long, letting your legs widen, feet to the edges of your mat, arms away from the body, palms turning upward in a gesture of receiving. And sense how your entire back body is supported in this moment. Back of your head and shoulders, backs of your arms, upper back and lower back and hips. Resting your legs heavy, your feet and heels resting into the mat. And how this support for your back body, the support of your body now lets any of that forward-facing world stuff just settle down for a moment. Eyes can close and let go of their reach. Tongue can soften. Throat relaxed. Chest soft. Organs of your belly nestled in. The fronts of the legs give way, their heaviness to the backs of your legs supported by the earth. Arms weighted, no reach, nothing to do. And even the mind softens from any seeking. There is no need in this moment to hold on to the idea of who you are, even of who you were or who you're becoming. This is simply that moment just for now to be. Just for now, without seeking, without asking how, let yourself sink into stillness. Just for now, lay down the weight you so patiently bear upon your shoulders. Feel the earth receive you, and the infinite expanse of the sky grow even wider. As your awareness reaches up to meet it just for now, allow a wave of breath to enliven your experience. Breathe out whatever blocks you from the truth just for now. Be boundless and free. With awakened energy tingling in your hands and feet, drink in the possibility of being who and what you really are. So fully alive that the world looks different. Newly born and vibrant just for now. As always, it is a tremendous honor to serve as your guide. You are welcome to stay in Shavasana. Linger, luxuriate. If you are ready, when you are ready, transitioning perhaps back to seated by drawing your knees in, rolling to one side. And pressing up to sitting when you're ready. So as we move very close to our shortest day, our longest night, our solstice, I invite this deep trust in the unseen. Namaste.